You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast for something a little bit unusual. Today, because we don't care about England v Australia, we have decided to do a mailbag episode. We've got loads and loads of contacts after our IPL show and before our IPL show, the one last week, about retentions, etc. And we thought we'd just expand that out and take questions from the audience about stuff. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. How are you doing, Ross?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, mate. I'm fully behind our decision to boycott the England versus Australia series. The only good thing that's come out of it is that Dawid Malan hit 100 after being cruelly left out for the final. So well done to Dawid.
He said he cried, didn't he?
I think I'd cry. I think if that was I think in like the biggest occasion you've worked towards it. He's put in a hell of a lot of effort to get back into that side. Obviously propelled himself to number one in the T20 rankings, whether we like the rankings or not. Like to be missed out of the final when you pass a fitness test, like that's pretty damning, I think. But we won.
Yeah.
Right decision.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad for him. Before we get into the questions, there are four things that have happened in world cricket. England v Australia was one of them, and I think you've covered that.
Thank you very much. I thought I did a splendid job. Yeah,
it's 2-0 to Australia. 14,000 people went to one of those games. That's about 13,000 more than I thought would actually turn up.
Well, in football attendance in the UK, what is that? Is that League One, League Two,
Championship? I think.
No, I reckon.
Yeah.
More. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. League One's nobody goes to League One. In other cricket, New Zealand have been playing India. They're winning 1-0. Surya Kumar Yadav got 100. 113 in 51 balls.
111 in 51 balls.
Whatever. That's close enough, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty close.
If you had it corrected me, no one would have noticed.
Kane Williamson got pretty much like a run of ball 50 again, didn't he? He's doing really well.
Yeah, that was good. And Tim Southee got a hat-trick. Any of those points that you want to drill down in?
I think what we should talk about is like Sky is operating at a different level. Like this year, his stats are ridiculous,
except against England.
Yeah, obviously didn't do when it mattered. Yeah, when it actually mattered, not these little bilateral Ponzi series. You've actually got a proper big boy, and he didn't do quite well. But what I want to talk about is India's team here around. Like everyone else went about a run of ball. Like he was the only person to really strike at any lick really, and that was for both sides. If I'm perfectly honest, just playing a different game.
Yeah, he is. Well, and he has been for a while, apart from against England in the semi-final when it mattered, and therefore he must be rubbish. He's good. He's good. I haven't got anything else to add on that. I want to get to the mailbag section.
Deepak Hooda did take 4 for 10. So that's
interesting. He won a medal. Didn't do that in the semi-final, did he?
I also found it really funny that they played him and Washington Sundar together. I quite enjoyed that.
Washy's back, is he?
Yeah.
In West Indies, Nicholas Pooran has gone as their white ball captain, and Rovman Powell is in.
That is. I'm not sure about that decision.
No, why not?
I don't think Pooran's a very good captain, so I can understand why they've got rid of him. But I don't think I've ever heard Rovman Powell talk, actually, thinking about it. Yeah. Like normally you put someone who's just, at least they've been in front of the media, has got a bit of a profile. Okay, interesting.
Scraping the barrel a little bit in West Indies cricket.
Could they not just give it to Shivnaran Chanderpaul's son? Tangerine.
Ryan.
Yeah.
I don't think his name's Tangerine. Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, yeah.
Isn't he like his dad, though? Scores about a run every 3 balls.
Yeah, but they picked Shai Hope at the T20 team for a long time. Like, no need to worry about that, mate.
Give it to him. I don't know. It's strange. Pooran, I guess he had enough. They had a pretty poor T20 World Cup, didn't they? And maybe he wants to focus on other things.
But like trying to actually hit the ball off the square would be a good start.
Yeah, that would be a good start. Some news there. And the most interesting news happened today. Narayan, I think that's how you say it. Sometimes we get these names wrong. Narayan, could be Narayan. Jagadeesan hit 277 in a 50 over contest in the Indian List A competition for Tamil Nadu. That's pretty good, isn't it? 277 off 141 balls. Ever I mean, like that's no. The sad thing I think about this actually, I don't think there's any footage of this innings.
So did it even happen? Could be a
well,
false flag operation by his PR team.
There was a video of his teammates clapping him off. I mean, it didn't look like there was anyone there. I don't know. The previous Brest was by called Alistair Brown. I've never heard of him. Against Glamorgan, 268. I think there was a first wicket stand of about 400 as well. The other guy at the other end got 177. Tamil Nadu got 506 for 2.
Are they playing against a team at the same level as them, or is it like an FA Cup kind of situation?
They play a team called Arunachal Pradesh, who, I mean, they're professional cricketers. In response, I mean, this doesn't counter your point here. In response, they got 71 all out.
Oh right, okay, fine.
So I don't know. There's different ways to look at this, isn't there? Maybe Jagadeesan got this 277 on a really tricky deck, and that it's an even better innings than we think. Mm-hmm. Or maybe yes, he was playing a team of children or old men.
Wow,
I don't recognise any of the names on the Arunachal Pradesh lineup. I can't, not even from the IPL. Like, it's not that there is not a single person there I know exists. Sai Kishore's playing for Tamil Nadu. Like, for example, they've got players that
you're playing in the IPL.
Shahrukh Khan's playing. Like, they've got a proper team. I don't recognise any others. It's obviously a standard because there are players in it, but all on one side. Still, though, 277 is a good score.
Yeah, very good score. You still want to hit the runs, haven't you? You can only beat what's put in front of you.
Exactly. Right, let's get on to the mailbag episode. So we've got 4 questions that came in today and then 21 that came in last week. Do you want to do the most recent or the oldest first?
Let's start oldest.
Oh, fuck's sake! I've got the most recent up.
Okay, put the most recent.
We'll do the most recent.
Don't give me the option.
Well, it's a 50-50 option. VJ says, let's got quite a few World Cup ones in here, actually. Football World Cup ones. VJ says, will England win the Football World Cup to add to the cricket one? The football team played with the same intent as the T20 team did. Did you like England's 6-2 victory over the mighty Iran today, Ross?
Yeah, I did actually. I enjoyed the intent. I enjoyed the again. It's one of those bits where England have a system. We've got a philosophy and ideology that we like to follow when it comes to playing. And our dear leader Gareth Southgate has implemented it really well. And fortunately, we've got a bit of a golden generation of kind of talent in the England squad. So it's not dissimilar to England's white ball setup.
Yeah, are England going to win the World Cup? Do you think?
Well, if today's anything to go by, yeah, I think so. And imagine how many cricket world
whole world
championships.
Would hate us.
Yeah, like cricket at one, and that covers a lot of people. And then it's almost like the Football World Cup covers the rest. And so we would be genuine world champions. And I think it's about time countries did kind of like undisputed belts. You know, like in boxing. I like this.
Yeah,
and England would be double belting, and I think that's good.
We'd only have to win, or the only country that wouldn't outright hate us is New Zealand because they like rugby. Yeah. Every other nation plays basically football or cricket as their primary international sport. I mean, the States obviously have got the NFL, but they don't. Who do they play that against? I think we've taken down most of the world apart from New Zealand.
Yeah, we're already the women champs, aren't we?
Yeah. It's great being English, basically. Nothing ever goes wrong here. We've got stable leadership.
I think it's fair to say on this podcast, the empire is back, is what we can claim.
Fucking hell. But only for a sporting sense. Exactly.
The other empire completely crumbling on its arse.
Yeah. Eddie Gecko says, this is just football. How did the VAR give the penalty at the end of the game? The Maguire incident in the first half looked much more severe. Well, that's VAR. It's a really shit system. They shouldn't have it.
VAR is. I just don't understand how they got it so badly implemented. Like, even in cricket, unless you're the random kind of India umpire who doesn't follow the rules, normally it's pretty consistent. But yeah.
Well, because there's loads of like marginal calls in football. Like both of the incidents in football today, the Maguire one, which I think should have been a penalty, and then the other one, which I don't think should have been a penalty. Like both of them could or could not be penalties. Like you could argue them either way. It's not like an LBW can only be one or the other, isn't it? Or with ball track in mind, and if you hit the ball and you're caught, like it's pretty binary. That just doesn't exist in football
unless you just don't check. So which sometimes happens.
Well, yeah. I think they should get rid of it. I mean, isn't the whole point of football to sort of live in the moment? It's fucking stupid having a system where it's like, oh, now we've got to consult some dickhead in a hut.
Yeah, it should be there for shockers. I don't like it. Like I don't like the offside being like a millimeter. I don't believe in that you're either offside or you're onside. I don't actually follow that logic. So yeah. Well, we're not a football show though, Jack. We are a cricket show.
We've got more football questions.
Oh, okay, fine. All right, bring it on.
Mar says, do you think the whole all format / multi-format statistics / comparisons are getting out of hand? It's fun to do these once in a while, but I feel it's getting stupid with the formats being wildly different. So this isn't actually a football. There is a question: can England do a double T20 World Cup or Football World Cup? We've already answered that, though. Yes, almost certainly going to win the Football World Cup. I think at this point, clearly,
it's a 99.9% chance. I think.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we still do you reckon we still confuse people with a sarcasm? Because we had that when we started out the show, didn't we? And we were seen as these guys are so obtuse. So who knows?
Maybe, probably. I mean, comparisons across formats. You probably shouldn't do it. I mean, like you can say if you want to have the debate, you can be like, I think this player is the best all format player in the world, I suppose. But like, I'd basically not pay attention or not really pay that much attention to the stats between two different formats. If you're trying to work out whether a test batter would be good in ODIs, you're not really going to learn much, or vice versa. And even between ODIs and T20 cricket, you have to be quite specific about what you're looking at to find out whether the skill's transferable. There are quite a lot of examples of players who are really good in ODI cricket that aren't that good in T20 cricket. I mean, that's that. Last one from today. Shubham says, Indian selectivity conundrum. It's not even a question. Then finishers, now openers, please include this issue. So, Ross, your thoughts on that issue?
What is the issue? They've got rid of all the selection.
They've got rid of all the selectors. Yeah, well, this should have been in cricket news at the top of the show. They fired everyone, didn't they?
Which I was a big fan of, like pressing the big button that says "Do not press." I think this is a nice way of doing it. Like India have taken a leaf out of Pakistan's books with this, and that can only be a good thing.
Yeah. Hold on. Wait. They've taken a leaf out of Pakistan's book.
Yeah. So Pakistan, every single time they kind of seemingly go out or something, or lose a bilateral or lose a test match, the selector gets fired, and there's some kind of like voting for the new chair. Do you not remember when like Misbah made all the rules saying that you can't be the selector and the coach or whatever it was, or the director of the coach, and then just changed it so he got to be those things. I think I'm enjoying what's going on. And I also think it's, as much as the Pakistan thing's a joke, I think it is a really healthy decision that they've made here, because India have not lived up to their potential for a number of years now, and something had to change, and maybe Big Bang change is the right way to go.
See, I reckon you're right, but I think they'll just appoint somebody else that doesn't really know what they're doing.
That is definitely, I reckon, on the scale of percentages as we like to operate with, 80% chance that happens. Maybe a 90% chance that happens. Actually,
you get another dud in.
Another stupid, and that's because there's so much pressure, right? I think it's really difficult to go in and do something like, well, again, this is like the England celebration show, isn't it? Doing what Owen Morgan did, and being able to have that, because it takes a lot of courage, a significant amount of courage to go and drop someone like Rohit Sharma, and who's going to have the testicles to go and do that? I'm not sure.
I think this has just triggered a different thought in my mind. Again, related to England, the greatest sporting team in the world. But you're right. Yeah, it does. They need a boss man to come in and reorganize. Maybe they should get Morgan. I don't know. Probably wouldn't do it. England have just announced a new selector, haven't they?
They have indeed. It is
Luke Wright.
Yeah, I tell you what. Out of all the people to pick, I actually quite like this suggestion.
Okay, talk me through it.
So he's been involved in the county game for a significant amount of time. He's played at the international level, so knows what it takes. He was also a bit of a trailblazer in terms of the white ball format as well, which is good. So he understands kind of what they're looking for. I think from a test perspective, he's got connections all over the game, and he has played across the world, right? He's a global player. He's played in the Caribbean, played in England, played in Australia. I think he might still be the leading run scorer in the Big Bash for an overseas player. I think it's a quite a well thought out, considered appointment. Another big tick in the Rob Key is doing a great job book in my view.
I thought it was quite left field. I'd never even considered Luke Wright as effectively an administrator. I thought he was like Chris Nash's mate.
Well, he's Chris Nash's mate, and we've obviously friended. But if you follow Luke Wright on Twitter, as I do, well, he's Chris Nash, because Chris Nash is pretty much obsessed with him. That Luke Wright did a sports degree not long ago. He finished top of his class apparently. So this is what we're pretty much saying is that the ECB, the grad program, actually is your head of selectors. And cool. That's quite good. You're giving the youth the opportunity, to make a real impact.
That's a fast stream.
It's a fast track. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it's the ECB fast track for Luke Wright and his sports management degree. Well done.
Cool. Yeah, I got fair play to him. I like watching him play cricket. Seems like a cheeky chappy.
Could also bat and bowl, so knows what it takes to do both. Great selection.
Okay, Ross. Now we're going to get into this is going to be tricky. I think you have to get Max's spreadsheet up of retentions, etc. Okay. We're going back to from now on. It's just IPL stuff. So if you like the IPL, enjoy. If you don't, see you later in the week when we do a podcast on something else. Yeah. Random cricket stats. Most surprising release and retention from last week's IPL releases and retentions.
Okay, so most surprising, do you say?
Yeah.
That has to be Mayank Agarwal. Even though he had a bad year last year, releasing a player of that quality back into the player pool when there's 9 other teams who would benefit from probably having it, probably 7 out of those 9 probably could actually use him properly, is a significant one. Most surprising retention. I was surprised. So is it surprise? I'm going to say it from surprising from my perspective. If I was running these teams, not surprising that RCB did something stupid, but I think that it was a surprise retention that RCB kept Faf du Plessis, and also a surprise retention that Ahmedabad boys kept Vijay Shankar.
Okay. Vijay Shankar is a little bit of a weird one. I had this bloody written down, but I fucking deleted I used one document for all my notes, and I deleted everything. So I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say. I think Agarwal as a surprise release is. I mean, it was sort of hinted at that it might happen, wasn't it? So I don't know if I was surprised, but I think it was the dumbest. Could put it that way. Yeah, I mean, like putting a player in that would massively upgrade 5 of your direct rivals and massively downgrades you is
not good business.
No, that's supremely stupid.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else. Devdutt Padikkal was probably another one. Actually, probably
that's a great shout.
Yeah. Devdutt as a surprising retention, I think probably takes it. And then a surprise release was probably Evan Lewis. I genuinely think Lucknow didn't really use him too well. They obviously got rid of Holder as well, but that's because he was cost nearly 9 crore. So
yeah. I think Devdutt Padikkal. I'm going to say Ross. That is the winner.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Good question to open up. Random cricket stats. Weird baby name, but yeah.
we always get good. We do regularly get good questions from random cricket stats. Whatever your name is.
We salute you.
We salute you. Do we?
I do. I just did. If you're listening. Okay.
Yeah. Well, or if you were watching, then you saw that. LSG.
Yes.
Cummins
for Lucknow Supergiants. So next question.
Yeah. Cummins skipping the IPL for the Ashes, but Stokes will play the IPL. How do you see this, since both are Test captains and Stokes has talked about workload? Ooh, so that's a good question.
Yeah, I think that if you take what has happened to Mitchell Stark as a good example, I think T20 moves so quickly that if Ben Stokes is going to kind of remain being a T20 player for England and at the IPL and wherever else, I think he wants to be involved in it and be at the forefront of the game, right? And being at the IPL is right up there, and I think that's why he wants to be involved in it. I think from a workload perspective, if he's retired from ODIs, so in theory, on paper, it looks as if he's not going to have the World Cup to kind of go to. And sitting there going and playing in the IPL and staying in 5-star hotels with his family in India might be a nice couple of months for him. So actually, I don't see it as a bad thing. I think for playing against Australia as well, you want to get that swagger, right? If he comes off the back of having an unbelievable IPL and he was the MVP not a few years ago, that also puts the old the worries in the Aussies, I suppose. So yeah, Cumdog is different. He's trying to be all things to all people, isn't he? So yeah, I'm not surprised he wants to do that, and I don't think he actually cares that much because Australia paid him quite a lot of money, which is good. But I'm not sure he's that way inclined.
Yeah, I think so. Coming to what he had 2 or 3 years of a really good deal in the IPL. So, I mean, if you are looking at it from a purely financial point of view, it's probably easier to miss something once you've made £3 million from it.
Absolutely.
And like if you're looking at it from a sporting point of view, as well, probably they've had a conversation with Cricket Australia about this. But if you're looking at it from a sporting point of view, Pat Cummins is going to have one chance to go to England, probably as captain of Australia and win the Ashes. Like, do you want to maximize that opportunity? The thing that people will remember you for, that will get you your commentary gig on Channel 9 in the future and extend your career, your media career, or do you want to jeopardize that playing in a tournament where you might not be the main man, practicing skills that aren't actually going to benefit you at all?
And you might not even be in the 11.
Might not be in the 11. Yeah, I mean, they've just, yeah. So I think it's, I can see it coming. I am a little bit surprised by Stokes. I'd say that. Stokes similarly pretty well paid.
But I think it's a wider business decision. I think if you look at what Ben Stokes is doing outside of the game, like from esports to kind of his endorsements and all that kind of stuff, I think this is about almost like the David Beckham style approach, like at the MLS type of thing. I think it is a wider cricket business decision.
Cricket business. Yeah, I mean that could be a fair call. It's probably a good time to go into the auction as well if you're Stokes, because somebody's going to pay you loads of money that you probably don't actually deserve on paper, because vibes.
It's Sunrisers.
Sunrisers. Kings. Kings are
Yeah.
the sort of team that was shell out.
Yeah, Trevor Bayliss is the king of the Punjab King, isn't he?
Is he? Yeah. Chennai, he's over 30 now, so he's on their target list.
And then Rajasthan Royals he used to play for. We know what it's like in the IPL. Get the band back together. So
and if he doesn't go for very much money, you know what he'll do? He'll just say, "I'm not going to go then."
Yeah.
Do what Jason Roy did and Hales did last year. Be like, it's not enough money for me to.
Yeah, 2 crore, not enough.
Yeah, which is fair. So I don't know, I guess pay him. FPL Barrett says, as a Kings fan, and this is a list of grievances, so we're just going to go on do the Kings here.
We're like doing agony on.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. As a Kings fan, Indian batting contingent of Dhawan, Jitesh Sharma, and Shah Rukh Khan isn't great at all. Lack of Indian bowling options apart from Arshdeep and Chahar. Lack of all rounders. Poor overseas combos, and then he's given us 11 here. Dhawan, Bairstow, don't know at number 3. Livingston, Jitesh Sharma, Shah Rukh Khan, don't know at number 7. Rabada, don't know at number 9. Arshdeep and Chahar. And I think that's a pretty fair summary of what the Punjab Kings have got if you take Agarwal out of the side.
Yeah, I didn't really understand some of the they might have had a bit of a tough year, right? But they were trying something a little bit different. And to get rid of someone like Sandeep, I think I said it on the other show, like Sandeep Sharma for 50 lakh, like what's the point in releasing him? Like genuinely, like it costs nothing whatsoever, and is a domestic bowler. I just found that a bit silly. I think he's also one of those people. Sandeep Sharma might be, other than Chahar, might be the person with the most wickets in the power play in the IPL history.
Well, I look, I didn't think that was great, that clever. 5 over Aurora is probably at some point going to be an IPL quality bowler. Maybe just needed to learn a little bit. Did he play a handful of games last year? I know he wasn't great, but has a pretty good record at the level below, and I think has been good this season as well in the SMAT.
Yeah, only 24.
Chucking him into the pool seems like a bit of a weird decision. So you're depleting. Look, neither the guys we're talking, Agarwal aside, the guys they've got rid of. None of them are necessarily first name on the team sheet, but it's not inconceivable that one of Sandeep Sharma or Aurora or Ishan Perel has a pretty good season for you and helps you, or means you have 3 Indian bowlers instead of 2. Yeah. Now they've got to go into the market and probably buy Unad Cat.
Varun Aaron's going to turn up and you're going to be like, oh no, we've bought Ishant Sharma.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a particularly deep pool, the Indian bowling thing. And then, as pointed out, their combinations when it comes to overseas players don't necessarily help with that.
I mean, we were really impressed by Nathan Ellis, weren't we? From throughout the 100.
But it's quite hard to get him in the team.
Yeah, exactly right. And they've kept Rajapaksa.
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, I think some of it will depend. If Bairstow plays, Bairstow, Livingston, Rabada, and another, you're still very over. It's like Rajasthan Royals from a couple of years ago when they had some pretty good overseas players and then sort of nothing. Or Sanju Samson and sort of nothing. It's a little bit like that. I don't know. I still think there's still hope, isn't there? If you've got Arshdeep and Chahar and Rabada.
Yeah. And 32 and a bit crore to play with. Yeah. Like they could do amazingly. And there are people they do, but
yeah. So. I tell you what, if they were clever, I would sell Rajapaksa and try and bring in someone that can balance things out. See if you can get Rajapaksa out the door for even like a midweight Indian player. Like your downgrade talent wise, but fill one of the issue or fill one of the holes in your team. Get like I don't know who's get the 5th best bowler from one of the teams that bought loads of Indian seam bowlers. Just play them, see what happens, because you're not going to play Rajapaksa if you've got your front 11. So why not do that? Is what I would say. Right, Ross, let's carry on. Cannon fodder. Who do Delhi need for number 6/7? Their overseas would probably be Warner, Marsh, Norkia, Rothman Powell. So they need an Indian for that position.
So we spoke about this before. I think I think Rothman Powell, newly appointed West Indies white ball captain. I think I agreed with you at the time, saying he'd probably be the one to drop out. But you do need a power finisher. And I think that they're going to fall into. We've got an Australian coach. We've got an Australian called Cameron Green in the auction pool. I think they might overspend for an unknown quantity. I also wouldn't be completely surprised if actually they'll try and be in the bidding for Sam Curran. I think that they'll get outbid for them. But Delhi have the ability to pretty much put all their bank into Sam Curran if they really wanted to. I think they've got a good selection and they can go in and fill the rest out. If they got Sam Curran for kind of 17 crore, which I think he'll probably go for more than that based upon what we're hearing, then they can still pull in a couple of players to fill some gaps, which will be relatively cheap. But it's a really difficult one. Could be a Stokes destination as well, but I don't know. Indian talent-wise, the kind of power finishers and kind of batting all-rounders, it's a pretty sparse area, isn't it? I think you're going to have to be backing people from maybe a good season in the SMAT.
Yeah.
And they've been good at that. They've been good at that in the past. Good domestic talent in there. And then the other person is you can move some people down in the order and bring in Agarwal at the top of the order for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have to do that much. If I were them, I would try and get an overseas all rounder and get rid of Rothman Powell. I don't. I think there's a different perception of how good some of these players are from people who watch a lot of IPL and not a lot of other cricket, and people who do watch quite a lot of other cricket and maybe also watch the IPL. There's a couple of players in this squad that I think are like bad, like severely overrated, and that other people have, always mentioned as people that will be like first names on the team sheet. Mitch Marsh, he's really, I think, at best a sixth choice, fifth choice overseas player. I'd have Rodman Powell in that category as well. I think you can really, really easily upgrade there. They've got 19 crore to spend. They only have to sort of buy one player. So I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, Warner, Shaw, Rishabh Pant. That's a good start. We did this. I don't want to I don't want to sort of overdo it, but they don't actually need that much to field a. They could field a really good team with what they've got.
Yeah,
they're in a really luxurious position where they managed to get rid of Shardul Thakur, free up some money, and then they could punt on if they. I mean, imagine if they did get Curran or even Jason Holder. Like it's just give them that option at number 7. That's what I would look to upgrade. I don't think Robin Powell's it. That's my take on Powell. Ben Smith. If sold, how much do you think Puran would go for? I think he could go for absurdly overpriced to a bargain. Didn't really say that sentence very good, but I think you got the point.
Yeah. What did he go for last time? About 14 crore?
It was a lot of money.
Maybe near a 12 crore, maybe 11.75 crore, something like that.
A stack of cash, yeah.
So if we think about the teams that could have, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up back at Sunrisers Hyderabad for less money. I think that could definitely happen. I think that he's had really bad, really poor performances in the IPL. He was like West Indies were a laughing stock at the World Cup, unfortunately. I think his stock has gone down quite a lot, but he also is a left-handed batsman. He's a wicket keeper. I think it can be useful, but they need to figure out how to use them, right? So West Indies were starting to use him at number 3, kind of first drop, whereas some of the IPL teams are trying to use him as a bit of a finisher. And I think depending on where they want to play him, that's where you have to try and get the best out of him. And there are some potentials in that place. What I was thinking about the other day was this could be an area which Kolkata Knight Riders actually want to go down. I think 7 crore might actually be enough to get someone like Puran in, like a good quality international, get him for 5 crore or something potentially. And then that solves one of their problems in terms of wicket keepers and a top order batsman. But they're going to have to go bargain shopping if they want that.
Puran to KKR isn't the worst shout in the world, I don't think. I think probably they'll bid for him. It just depends whether he'll go for a lot. He's a weird player, Puran. I'm still not really sure whether he's good or not. Probably that means he's average. Yeah.
I think he needs the supporting cast to do very well. Like Surya Kumar Yadav will be good in whatever team you put him in, right? Puran needs all the things around him to work, and then he has to be kind of involved in the game, it looks like.
I think as well, maybe he's only really good at hitting spin or certain types of spin. And that, like you say, that's okay if it's a really clear role and you're not expecting him to do anything else. It's not okay if you're paying him 11 crore and you're expecting him to be good in all situations.
Yeah, he's not the man in the team, right? He is one of the team, and I think that's the difference.
Gagan says, which all-rounder is best suited for Punjab Kings?
Oh, that is a toughie. Again, it's also quite difficult to do this when we're not sure who's entering the auction, right? So I think when we get close to the auction, we'll go through this in a bit more detail, because at the moment we are kind of hypothesizing that someone like Daryl Mitchell will be in the auction. And you're like, is he really the best that they've actually got available to them? So I think that they might go somewhere like, probably, we mentioned him earlier, maybe a Jason Holder. They kind of went away from O'Dean Smith, who they probably overpaid for, but as a good 6-hitter, he won them a game, lost them 2 games. Interesting. So probably go back to the West Indies, I reckon, for someone like that. But surely they have to go for Sam Curran. Like this has to be one of the teams they have to go for Sam.
I would think that another player who I think would suit them better than some of the other franchises is actually Cam Green, because I think you could open with Cam Green in their team. And I think they're not in desperate need of a death bowler in the way that some of the other franchises sort of are, because they've got Arshdeep and Rabada's, serviceable. But it's nice if you get one of the world's best death bowlers. But like and actually to some extent they've got a few guys who, in theory, the thing that they could do, Shahrukh Khan springs to mind here, is maybe hit a few sixes later in the innings. Like I don't think Shahrukh Khan's batting in your top three, in the IPL anyway, and maybe in the SMAT. I don't know if Curran's necessarily a banker to bat. I know he has done it, but I don't know if I don't know if that's what you want. I think Cam Green, not as good a T20 batter, but maybe better in a top three role. I think with them losing Agarwal, if you could bring it, say it was Green and Darwan opening, Johnny Bairstow at 3, Jitesh Sharma at 4, and Livingston at 5, Shahrukh Khan at 6. Maybe you've actually got an okay team there. Maybe that balances out some of your problems and moves things around to a big enough extent that you're not sort of like 80 for 3 after 8 overs, but that's it. All your batting's done.
And I quite like this. Yeah, I quite like this kind of thought experiment, right? Because I mean, the last two teams we talked about, KKR and Buran or whoever else, like this isn't about a like for like replacement. On the team sheet, it looks like you've lost your number 7. But actually, can you reorganize your team to actually do something a little bit different and try to go for something a bit different in the market? I think a lot of these teams in the mini auctions will have to think about that, and that's where the coaches have to earn their money. And like with Livingston, you absolutely can use Livingston as like a number 3 or a number 4 and send him in really early. And Livingston proved he could do that last year. But you could also use Livingston as a number 5 in the Shimron Hetmeyer role. Yeah, and of course, real carnage.
Or the Dreyras role. Just 12, or the AB de Villiers role. 12 is the wicket falls after 12 overs, then we send in Livingston. Yeah. Last year, because he was sort of the only one who could bat against spin. It was just a bit of a fucking weird. They had too many weird combos. I think Cam Green might actually help them out with the bat more than Curran. The question, I think, is whether Cam Green. I think we think he's a good talent, but we don't really know.
Yeah, so Kyle Jamieson, right? Yeah. Kyle Jamieson went for over $1 million and was in that position. He was garbage.
We don't. It's based on like 2 innings and. His bowling is probably. I don't love his bowling. I don't know if he's a 4-over bowler in the IPL. I'd be a bit surprised actually if he was.
I'll tell you what. This has got written all over it for Punjab Kings. It's got Manish Pandey written on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could happen. Davis Bailey. Let's get through a few. Just let's up the pace slightly.
Okay.
Davis Bailey. What's your favourite team, and will you accept them signing Kane Williamson? Ross?
So I'm a Rajasthan Royals fan, and I would not accept them signing Kane Williamson. I would if they sign Kane Williamson, I'm going to have to stop being a Rajasthan Royals fan. That's the extent to which it hurts.
Lucknow Super Giants, I think, were the team that I had the shirt of.
Yeah.
I would also not accept them signing Kane Williamson.
Can you imagine if Rajasthan did it? They would have 5 openers. They're literally.
Serious question, he says, or they say. Will Sunrisers be able to get a marquee player at the auction with the highest amount of money to spend? Who do you think it will be? Again, there's a lot of speculation here. They should be able to sign 2 pretty big players. We talked about this on our other show, didn't we? And I think we said if they could get Agarwal and Sam Curran, which is actually is achievable for them, it might.
They literally could just go, here's 20 crore on each player, outbid us.
Yeah. Then they'd kind of be an okay team.
I think they'd be more than an okay team. I think that solves some real problems for them, and they'll be able to buy if they really want to buy Kane Williamson back, they'll get him for a crore.
Yeah,
like that, and that is the bit. The people that they've released, if they really wanted them back that desperately, they'll get them back for a fraction of the price that they paid. But it just comes down to how well Brian Lara can actually control what has been a pretty batshit team for the last kind of couple of years.
Yeah. I think they're one of the teams that really, really do need Agarwal as well. Because their bowling's not bad. Their bowling last year wasn't bad. They've got like no spinner, which is odd. But a decent battery of seam. If they could, they had one batter. They had Rahul Tripathi, and that was.
So what I won't be surprised at is I think they need a bit more ballast, cheap ballast in the bowling front to give them a bit of resilience for when Bhuvi Kumar kind of definitely gets injured in the IPL. So don't be surprised if Sandeep Sharma actually ends up back at Sunrisers. And I also think they'll need a bit of top order control because they're gonna lose that. So I think Agarwal has to be top of their list and Sam Curran is second. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think they can compromise on Curran. If they ended up with Agarwal and Holder, I think it's a win.
Yeah, they've had Holder before, and he did a reasonable job for them.
I think if they end up with Manish Pandey and Holder,
Shivam Mavi,
it's a disaster. Vijit says prediction for the destination of Curran, Stokes, Green, Holder. One team for each of them. Where's Curran going, Ross? I'll do Stokes.
I think that they're going to go to the biggest pot. I think I'm going to have faith in Sunrisers, and this is dedicated to Sudeep in one of our Patreons. They're going to make the right decision and go for Sam Curran. I think that's where he'll end up.
Stokes is such a hard one to call because I don't know who's crazy enough to do it. Punjab are the sort of team that could end up doing Stokes, I think. And they'll be like, we've got Bairstow and Livingston. So if we get Stokes, then we've got England.
There's an interesting thing, right? So Ben Stokes, right arm bowler, left arm bat. I think the left hand bat is actually quite a good thing in the IPL in some of these teams. And actually, if you do miss out on Sam Curran, actually Ben Stokes isn't a bad second choice, and he might well be half the price. You don't know.
Yeah. Cam Green.
I quite liked your logic around Punjab Kings and moving the order around, but
Punjab Kings and logic.
But I do think that Ricky Ponting will be like
Delhi.
No, I'm going to go to Delhi.
I would agree with that. And Holder.
Holder, I think he went for 8.7 crore last time, which is a big chunk of cash. If you look at some of the teams, I think somebody. It's difficult with the overseas slots. Because I would say that he'd benefit from going for someone like Lucknow Super Giants. But maybe he'll turn up for the champs. Maybe he'll end up at Gujarat.
Okay, that's fair. Priyank says, actually, before we do this, just going to say a shout out to our Patreons. You mentioned it there, Ross. Thank you very much for being a patron. We had another sign up this week, Sean Jameson. Cheers, Sean. Thank you very much for your support. If you do sign up, we do bonus shows. We've got a Discord channel where we chat cricket all the time. And we've got like a few other benefits, some stuff around IPL data, etc.
Did we do a show this week with one of our Patreons?
I was just going to say, we spoke with Mark Lambourne, one of our Patreons, me and Max, and we had a long discussion, a lot about Indian cricket. I don't know why it went down that route, but selfish Indian cricketers, KL Rahul. We did about 20 minutes from KL Rahul. So if you want to listen to that,
sign up for the Patreon.
Yeah, sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/the cricket pod. Let's get back to our Twitter questions. And thanks to everyone who tweets us as well. That's good.
Let's hope Twitter survives.
Yeah. Can RCB fit Finn Allen into their starting 11? Or better yet, what possible reason could they justify not doing so? It is hard, I think, because they're going to keep playing Faf du Plessis, aren't they? And then Faf, Maxwell, Hasaranga, and Hazelwood is who do you lose? Who do you drop out there? Even if I don't think it's inconceivable that maybe Hazelwood doesn't play or something like that, or he's a little bit injury prone. He'll want to play the Ashes, but he's not a light for light replacement. So.
No, I think as I said on the previous show, if I was big brain Mike Hesson, I would have dropped Faf du Plessis, and I would have been like, we have to do that. But again, the value of leadership and captaincy in the IPL is really quite high when we think it probably shouldn't be.
I suppose their problem is that Kohli has resigned the captaincy, DK has resigned a captaincy somewhere else, and they're maybe the two most senior Indian players or Indian options. Mm-hmm. Glenn Maxwell's got a fitness question. Also a captaincy contender, has got captaincy experience, probably be a pretty good captain. Hazelwood, we're not sure. Hasaranga, I've never heard him speak.
Yeah, well, Hazelwood captained the not mentioned second game, didn't he, against England?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so he was a little bit of experience there. But again, I'm not sure you have to be a senior player to actually do it in the IPL. I think if you've got someone like Mohammad Siraj, that would be hilarious. Like Kohli 2.0 giving Siraj a captaincy, that would be interesting.
Ujwal says, which franchise will go for Kane Williamson in the auction? I think CSK will buy him. I'm going to be bold here. Unsold.
Wow. I think he's going to go back to Sunrisers.
Okay, cool. Odd man, any underrated bowling all-rounder that Rajasthan Royals can buy?
God, they've fallen into they did the fire sale at the end, didn't they? Buying what Jimmy Neesham, Daryl Mitchell last time. Is it underrated?
It's Will Jacks in the auction. The problem with Will Jacks is that he bats up the top of the order, and they really don't need that. But no, maybe not Will Jacks.
Yeah, and Will Jacks is also quite bad against spin.
Yeah,
but it could be a blower order hitter. He could be that in that position because he's a decent enough spinner, isn't he? I like the Will Jacks suggestion.
Benny Howell.
I as much as you're tongue in cheek there, I genuinely think that would be a quite an astute pickup actually, because I think that he's changed his batting. He's got a great track record. He's played around the world, and he's definitely a better option than Daryl Mitchell. So yeah,
I reckon they're going to end up with Sikandar Raza.
Do you know what? I wouldn't actually hate it. I wouldn't hate it, but
okay.
But again, it just goes to show that they're going to have to take. They've already got a punt, I suppose, on Rian Parag, kind of in the domestic player, kind of lower order hitter. That came off once last year, to some effect, which is good. But they need that extra person in that space, and Hetmeyer's not going to learn to bowl anytime soon, is he?
No.
So,
I think Benny Howe would be pretty useful for them. That's where
don't be surprised if they end up buying Ben Stokes and trying to shoehorn him into that role.
Yeah, wouldn't be stunned. Noah, who should Gujarat get with their 20 or so crore?
I think they've done a great job, by the way.
Should they spend big on one or two players or buy 4 or 5 cheaper?
I think they go for Agarwal. I think is what I said before, and I'll stick to that. I think that would make them a pretty formidable team.
I think they were a little lucky in some games last year. I think that's fair to say. But they do have
magic.
They do have some really strong pieces, particularly in the lower order area. Where they miss out is batting at the top of the order. I think it's iffy, and Agarwal addresses that. That's who I would go for if I were them. I also think, in general, in the IPL, you are better spending your money on players that will be in your front 11 than you are buying players that will be on the fringe. So
12, 13s, 14s.
Yeah, buying 4 or 5 crore players, when you could go all in for Agarwal and then just, fill the squad with random Sri Lankans in there for 50 lakh. I think that is the optimal play. And I think last year the teams that ended up winning were, I think basically the more money you put on the field in your front 11, the higher chance you had of making the playoffs.
Well, I just think in this side, so if I was to think of 3 players that Ahmedabad could go after, no, 4 in fact, with the 19 crore, Agarwal in that space.
Yep.
They've got space for Evan Lewis. They could potentially go for him as well. Ajinkya Rahane as a 50 lakh 1 crore player in that space. And then bowling wise, Kamira from Lucknow Super Giants, the Sri Lankan. Wouldn't be surprised if all of those 4 were on their radar. For right or wrong. But
Rye Jones says, who will be the most expensive player bought out of the released list? I can't see it will be anyone besides Agarwal.
Oh yeah, got to be like
something's gone wrong.
unless there's sort of like a massive thing around Jason Holder, but even then, that's a lot to kind of go for, isn't it? And then we talked about Puran earlier. Like unless people get hit in the head, which seemingly does happen sometimes at the auction, has to be Agarwal.
Shashwat says, and this is a Mumbai Indians question, going to name a squad, and there are 2 gaps: Rohit, Ishan, Tilak Varma, Suryakumar Yadav, Devil Brevis, Stubbs, Tim David, blank, Archer, Bumrah. Who are the blank and blank?
Well, haven't they got too many overseas players in that?
No, I think it's Archer, David, Stubbs, and Brevis are the overseas players. Archer. So you have to find 2 Indian bowlers at 8 and 9.
That is tough going. They have some. Oh. So what do we need? Do we need a leg spinner in there? We probably need a leg spinner.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, if I go leg spinner, do you know what? Why the hell not Shreyas Gopal?
I wouldn't be stunned by that at all. I was actually quite surprised that they released Mayank Markande into the pool, who is a leggy, 25, which is sort of going into your peak as a leggy, and it has a pretty good record. The level below, admittedly, but it seems like he is quite good, or at least could be a role player. So I'm surprised he got released. But Shreyas Gopal, I think is quite a good shout. I think he's the sort of player that could come in. They're a little bit screwed if they want to play those guys. Brevis, Stubbs, David don't fit in a team together because none of them bowled.
I could not believe they got rid of Daniel Sams, which I was. He was probably their best player last year. Which was a surprise. But again, what is in the domestic talent? Maybe this is a bit wild. Maybe they'll bring in Bravo, and maybe they'll ditch one of the South African kids and play Dwayne Bravo for a season and see what happens. But that'd be very, very surprising.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I'm just having a look at Stubbs because Stubbs does turn his arm over. He bowls fairly. He bowls about an average of 2 overs a game in T20 cricket. In fact, no, it's not even that. I mean, it's way less than that. Sorry, my bad. He bowls an average of 3 balls a game, 4 balls a game in South African domestic cricket. Has an economy rate of 9.
Yeah, it's not getting you anywhere, is it?
In fact, I mean, the team this team, it doesn't work in general because Tilak Varma, Tim David, and Stubbs are bowling 4 of your overs. Archer and Bumrah, and then Blank have got to bowl the others, and you have no room for flexibility.
But maybe this is again. We've talked about him a couple of times so far in this mailbag, but maybe Jason Holder comes into this side.
Yeah. Which of the overseas do you drop?
Probably. Oh, it's between Dewald Brevis and Stubbs for me.
Yeah.
And I think probably because Dewald Brevis doesn't offer what he needs to do with the ball, maybe you give Stubbs a bit more flexibility.
Yeah, and Stubbs I think is a more developed player too. Yeah. So I would do that. It's just this is what happens when you buy vanity projects. Though they probably shouldn't have got Brevis in the first place. You could have got a proper all rounder. And
they shouldn't have kept Rohit Sharma for all that money.
Amit, and we've sort of answered this. What were Punjab thinking when releasing Mayank? No idea. Brain dead. Presumably fell out with the management, and when they were like, "We don't want you to be the captain," told them to do one.
They even had the perfect thing, right? Because they got rid of Anil Kumble and his kind of support staff. They could have just been like, "Look, it was all Anil Kumble. He was the problem. Really sorry about this. He was telling us this," and just hung it and put the rope around Anil Kumble's neck. That's what they should have done. That's what a normal corporation would do. Blame the person who leaves, but they didn't.
Danny says, when is the IPL mini auction? 23rd of December, Danny. And injuries and commitments aside, what is England's best ODI side right now? This is a tangent. Wow. If they had a World Cup final tomorrow and order, how much does it differ to the T20 side? It's quite different, reasonably different to the T20 side, I think. Stokes is probably in it, I think.
Yeah,
he's retired.
All right, so we'll go. Johnny Bairstow opening up.
Yeah.
So he gets matched with who's doing well? Who?
You gonna go with Jason Roy?
No, I'm not going to do it. Jason Roy is no longer.
Go with Hales.
Alex Hales is Alex Hales. I think Phil Salt as the position right in this because he did well against the Netherlands, so he's kind of in there at the moment. So let's do those. Dawid Malan could open.
Well, maybe open with Malan. Root, I think, is nailed on at number 3.
Yeah,
and Stokes would be nailed on at number 4.
But I don't think Ben Stokes plays because he's retired. So maybe Ben Duckett.
Well, Duckett would be my number 5. So
let's do that. Yeah, fine. Okay.
Well, right. If we're assuming Stokes is retired, then Duckett. Who's at 5?
Who's the new boy in the list? Harry Brook. And
then what you do? Butler, Moeen, Livingston as 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
that doesn't work. Or do you drop Livingston?
No, you drop Moeen. No, you drop Harry Brook, don't you?
See, in my mind, that's one too many smasher, and you want actually that's
accumulator.
You want one more accumulator.
So that's why you need a David Milan or a James Vince in here, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I don't think you want James Vince. I don't think you really want David Milan either. You want Ben Stokes.
Yeah, you want
I'm getting Ben Stokes out of retirement.
Okay.
And then
so it's been played in India, right? So the next World Cup has been played in India.
Yeah.
So you want people who are good against spin. Ben Duckett is sublime against spin. Joe Root's good against spin.
Yeah.
Stokes is good against spin. Butler is. Moeen Ali is.
I guess if you don't have Stokes, then you probably want to play Moeen and Livingston because then you've got an extra bowler.
Mm-hmm.
Bowling wise, England have got all of whoever they pick, they're going to have a really good team. Like these are quite marginal decisions. Bowling wise, well, who are their best bowlers? Archer, Wood, Rashid, and Wokes.
Yeah,
yeah. Still the same from the last one. There you go. Something like that. Basball convert. Which 100-star is most likely to get a contract? Howell, Jacks, Smeed, etc.
I quite liked your suggestion of Will Jacks. I think that's quite a nice suggestion.
Someone should, yeah. There's no justice in the world if Kyle Mayers is in the IPL and Will Jacks isn't, and Will Jacks wants to be there. I think the thing that might turn people off is that Will Jacks will go in probably with quite a high reserve price because the fullback being played for Surrey in the county championship. In fact, he might not even go in the IPL auction. Because of the overlap with the championship.
Because he wants to play both red ball and white ball cricket, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's young enough to make that decision, and he won't get paid so well by the IPL that it's irrelevant. Smeed, I think, will go into it. So if Smeed's in there, I'd have thought somebody would. Well, I don't know. You say that, maybe not.
Who had good years this year? So someone like Adam Lyth. Adam Lyth had a really good year.
Yeah, but those three should all. I think those three should all be in the IPL. Like it's not. You're valuing players wrong if Kyle Mayers is in the IPL and those three aren't.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
It's simpler than that. Right, we've got 4 more questions, Ross. Let's get through them pretty quickly because there's football on and we want to watch it. Chatil says, why have Lucknow released backup fast bowler to Wood, considering Wood is very injury prone?
Yeah, so they got rid of Kamira, didn't they?
Yeah, nobody really knows.
Yeah, again, it's really trying to give themselves a little bit to play with, but I think 21 crore versus 23 crore.
Yeah, I suppose you could probably buy him back for the same price. Most undeserving retention. Have we done a most undeserving retention? Rohit Sharma's most overpaid player in the IPL. Rohit Sharma might be versus the value that they actually add.
Yeah.
Now Kane Williamson is off the table.
Yeah, I think it's a nice one. We've already.
I think probably
Faf is up there. There's probably a couple for KKR who's stealing a living in that space. But yeah.
Cool. Ben Smith says, where do you see Sam Curran's IPL batting role? He could see Sunrisers buying him as a top order bat. I think that's the best way to use Sam Curran. Sam Curran's a very destructive batter. You don't see it for England because they frankly don't need to. Liam Livingston is always going to be a better option than Sam Curran. Like you don't need to promote Sam Curran above Liam Livingston. Like it's not, or Moeen Ali for that matter. Most IPL teams don't have that firepower in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine you'll see Sam Curran. You use him effectively. You put him all over the place. A bit like Moeen for England. Like there's no reason to bat Moeen at number 3 if you're England. If you're CSK, there is. So you should. Rahul. Thoughts on Shahrukh Khan getting retained for 9 crore? Hey, 2 questions ago, most undeserving retention. This could be a winner, even though he's been a disappointment for 2 seasons. I don't know. I think didn't he bowl quite well in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy this year? Maybe there's people thinking that.
I didn't realise he bowled. If I'm perfectly honest, I thought he was just a little batter. And he was. There were some games where he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else but batting. And and the Punjab Kings fans were going, I wish he was somewhere else as well.
Yeah. All right, Ross, I think that's it.
Right.
Thanks very much for participating in the mailbag, the impromptu mailbag. People
love
at home. We'll be back later.
Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.